Elway boots and rolls to his right, stops, loads it up, throws down deep in the middle of the field. Brad Smith's got it. Here we go. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Brad Smith, Denver, touchdown. Inside the 10, head first. He's high. Yard line. On to that first down.
And I tell you what, if you want to tell me the 37-year-old man that's going to win this game.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year.
Well, hello, welcome Denver Bronco fans and Denver Bronco Roundup fans alike. Welcome to another show. It's another Tuesday edition of the Denver Bronco Roundup. Of course, I am your host, Keith Brugman. We are brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Go ahead and check out the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Jump on to their Facebook page. They're over on YouTube. They're on mainly all your social media platforms. Those are 2 main ones, but they'll get you caught up on all your Colorado sports. They're big into college football as well. Always big things going on over there. Always big things going on over at the Denver Bronco Roundup, especially when we're welcoming in our co-hosts like Albert and Jody. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Welcome,
good
everyone.
evening, everyone.
Boy, that's an enthusiastic good evening. Of course, what to expect after a loss. As we were talking like last Tuesday, wash, rinse, repeat. Here we are again. Man, 23-10, gentlemen. 23-10 in a game that I thought was going to go the completely opposite direction. I called this as our breakout game. I thought of big things from the defense, turnovers, points. Broncos in great position, putting up touchdowns. I was calling for over 30 points. Heck, even all the experts were calling us as a favorite into this game. But once again, here we are. Here we are with all of you trying to console each other. Man, it just, it was kind of an epitome of what our season has been like, this game in and of itself. So, Albert, I'll jump over to you first, man. Break down this game, what you saw. Obviously, the disappointment is all the way across Broncos country, probably all the way over into Missouri where you're at. Just break down this game. Give us an idea of what went wrong.
I think there was no energy. That is one of the things. It looks like they already have settled down with where they are in the rankings, and yeah, the defense still tries to make something out of it, but I think they have given up now too, and that's I believe they are no longer supporting some parts of the coaching staff, and especially the defense is not supporting the offense anymore. That's what I see.
You definitely saw that, at the end of the game. There was a lot of talk, press conferences, the whole 9 yards, that they thought, I think it was Hackett that said that they really thought these last 3 weeks, they really went in with a good mindset as a team. They felt like they were, as they went into across overseas, their backs were up against the wall. They thought that was a game that they could go in and win. They come back the next week, they thought, the Raiders, here's this rivalry game, had a great week, felt like they were prepared, complete letdown. Then, of course, here we are this week again. They thought, again, he said that we thought we were good, thought we were ready to go. But I can tell you, by the time that game was over, and there was obviously incidents that happened during that game, you're right, there was a breaking point. I've been calling for it for weeks. It finally happened, and this offense and this defense, I don't think, are playing on the same page. Jody, what are your thoughts on this game?
It was their worst game of the season by far. The offense couldn't do anything the whole game. Defense still tries and keeps you in the game, but at some point when you're on the field 99 of 100 plays, you just get worn down too, and you've seen it the last couple weeks. I mean, Travis Etienne running all over him, and then you had
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs run all over him, and then you had why am I drawing a blank? The Panthers run all over him.
Yeah. Foreman Hubbard, wasn't it?
Hubbard and Hubbard and Foreman. It's at some point. I mean, you're not going to be perfect, but they played well enough still to. If your offense scores points, you're probably going to win another game.
But there's one thing too. It was also the Panthers' best game of the year. If that had to do with our team, but to them, to their credit, it was their best game.
Yeah, and that's you bring up a good point. What is that from? Is that from the Panthers finally putting everything together and putting together their best performance, of the season solely, or is this a representation of what happens when you get to play the Denver Broncos? Because let's face it, boys, now that we're sitting at 3-8, it's not going to get any easier, and most teams that are looking at us are probably going to be looking at us as a win, or at least their fan base from here on out. I don't see a whole lot of teams on our schedule ahead where we can say, I think we're competitive there. I think that they should be scared of us.
Yeah, I don't think
agree to disagree.
I don't think there's anybody's scared of us at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to just give a quick shout out. I got Facebook user coming in here saying, "Evening, gents." Of course, we always love our likers, followers, sharers, subscribers, and of course, all our commenters coming in here as well. If you have something to say about this Denver Bronco team, I told Albert before we got on the show, this just might be our rant show. This might be the time that we just get to go off. And quite honestly, I don't blame you, Broncos country. Join on in. If you have questions, feel free to go off. There's plenty to be talking about. Jody, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, it's all good. I don't see another game where teams fear Denver. What is there to fear? They're just not playing well. They're not on sync. And I don't see because this offense isn't going to be here next year. So, I mean, what's there to gain? Even if Russ has some good games here or there, he's not going to run this offense next year or anywhere close to it. So,
very true, man. Obviously,
that's why I wish they would just get this back to basics stuff that is ran in all different types of offenses. To, play action, run the ball. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, people don't get hurt. I don't know what to at this point. I don't know what to say. It's not like come Sunday we're going to see 30 points and we go on this miracle run.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a miracle run, even you compile up the next 6 wins, if that was even possible, is still way short of where we need to be. It makes no difference at this time, and that's really where we're at. If we finish 9-8, I don't think we're looking at a playoff berth at this point, and it's impossible. So, I think alluding to kind of what you were talking about, Jody, we just don't have an identity. We haven't had an identity all year. You couldn't put your finger on what the Broncos do well on offense. I'm talking offensively only. Defense, yeah, we've had a good identity up until maybe this last week or the week before. But this team offensively, we're not a running team. We're not a wide zone scheme team. We're not a dial it up deep team. You name it. There's just nothing that you can consistently put your finger on that this offense can do. And to be honest, we've talked about it week in, week out. It starts up front.
I just want to make some fun out of it. We are a run-of-the-middle losing yards team.
Yeah. I agree, man. We're Danny, I appreciate all your comments. Try to keep it as family-friendly as possible, because we are a poopy team at this point, man. We are not a good team. I don't know how else to put it. Now, I'm right there with you, Danny. I'm right there with you. I'm not going to put it up there. Sis, thank you. Evening to you, sir. He's saying evening, boys, to us. Always enjoy you jumping in and being part of the conversation and supporting our show. So Appreciate you a ton, Sis, coming in here. Kind of something you alluded to a little bit, Jody. Danny does want to know, at what point do we just keep our stars healthy for next year? Albert, I'll let you maybe hit that. What's your thoughts? What what point do we just start shutting down guys? A great example. Do you shut down Cortland Sutton before the end of the year?
No, because how do they ever get gelled? So how do they ever build up chemistry? This is where they can prove their worth. The more difficult it is, the more they can get out of it. If they are building up some chemistry during these last 8 games, 6 games, that is all what is needed to happen. Right now they don't have any chemistry, so keep going, go at it, and do your best.
All right, I'll put this in a little bit different way for Jody. Jody, how much do you push at getting, let's say, a Jerry Jeudy or a KJ Hamler back onto the field, given our current state of the Broncos, our current win-loss record, I guess you could say?
Those two I probably push a little harder just because I need to know if they're in next year's plans or not.
Okay. So
now,
those two you want to get on the field, guys that you might not want to push onto the field.
Now, some things that I might try to do, maybe not sit guys. I don't know that I'm sitting guys, but maybe on offense I'm not doing certain things. I'm probably just going straight up, and some of the different things that might get you or risk getting you hurt, I'm not doing. I'm just trying to get through these 6 weeks. And because at this point you've got guys like Draymond Jones, he's ready to get paid big. Why does he want to risk an injury? I mean, you got guys that are going to get paid. So I don't see. But you can't just sit guys. You don't have enough players.
True. You can't just sit guys. That's true. You're probably not just going to sit guys. That's why I kind of shifted to that. Are we going to just see these guys, kind of maybe shift a little bit differently, I guess you could say. We would not push them onto the field nearly as quickly, or, my thought, and just kind of getting back, at what point do we just keep our stars healthy for next year? I think that started at the very beginning of this year, Danny. I think that started with training camp, quite honestly. It seems like we didn't want to go hard in training camp. We didn't want to go hard in preseason. That came to a lot of injuries, in my opinion, that we really bore at the very beginning of the season, and then continued to just play this team as we went down the path. And on top of it, I don't know how many times I've watched a press conference and I've seen Hackett stand up there and people are asking him, has this guy had a setback? When's he going to get back onto the practice field? When can we expect to see him back into the game? They have been trying to keep these guys healthy the entire year. That's all he says. Hey, we're just trying to get him to a place where he's good, he's healthy, can get back on the field, he can contribute. You hear that week in and week out, regardless of the guy who's injured off the field. So it seems like we don't push these guys at all. In my opinion, we've been trying to keep them healthy all year, to the point that it's probably been to our detriment. Jody?
You know when the next game is, don't you?
What do you mean, when's the next game?
December. That's what the goal was, to get everyone to December.
Oh, that's right.
So that didn't really pan out like he thought.
Oh, Jody, you're killing me, buddy. You're killing me. I forgot that quote, man. I forgot that quote. Hey, we just want to make sure that these guys are all good and healthy come December, when the games really mean something. So, I heard Mark Schlereth on the Fan, and this was a few weeks ago. He was saying, and I think it was 98. I mean, they were doing 2 days, and that's when they actually did real OTAs and training camps. And they had no one hurt except for Elway that little bit when he tweaked his hamstring for like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, they stayed healthy. So at some point, this can't practice and all they already don't practice anyways, and then you practice less. I mean, that's bargained to what they can practice, and then he did less. Yeah, I know. I
mean, just like this week, I mean, you're a horrible team and you take Thursday off. That's supposed to be
Yes.
your install day. I mean,
We
he-
switched Tuesday
he's
for
done
Thursday, buddy.
everything totally backwards from how everyone else does it.
Since injuries, we kind of got off on that. I did want to hit this just in the show. I'm just going to go through current list. Jerry Jeudy, questionable. KJ Hamler, questionable. Jonathan Harris, questionable. Randy Gregory, IR. K'Wan Williams, out. Dakota Allen, questionable. Chase Edmonds, IR. Mike Boone, IR. Jonas Griffith, IR. Mitchell Faboni, I know he's not a big name, but he's also on IR. Lloyd Cushenberry, IR. Caden Stearns, IR. Aaron Patrick, IR. Garrett Bowles, IR. Ronald Darby, IR. Javonte Williams, IR. Casey Tucker, IR. Tim Patrick, IR. Christopher Allen, IR. Demira Crockett, IR. We're one of the most injured teams out there, gentlemen, by far. And that's not even talking about the nicks and bruises and bangs that it seems like we get during a game that takes a guy out, one or two guys out on top of it. How different would this season be? I'll go to Albert first. If we were 100% healthy, if we had all those names on the field.
I think we would maybe 3 more games won.
Okay.
If you don't have the coaching that is really needed, I think that's where all the problem starts. Coaching. And right now, our offensive coaches are not cutting it. Is Russell Wilson helping? Is the O-line helping? Not at this moment, but maybe with a better O-line, we might have scored a lot more points.
Danny brings this up. Last time I looked at this stat, Danny, he says, I heard that today we have the most cap on IR. Last time I looked, it was just shy of 25 million. I think it was 24 million, if I remember correctly, that we have on IR. Huge. Jody, since Albert put a number to it, he went from the 3-8 that we are to maybe a 6-5 team if we were 100% healthy. Do you see a major swing in this team if we were 100% healthy?
Maybe a couple wins at the most. I mean, maybe, but you were completely healthy against Seattle, and I mean, just some of the ways you've lost games is it wasn't going to fix this whole line. I mean, you could say you're on your backup center. I think he's probably your better center. I mean, yeah, you down your left tackle, but other than that, you are with really the guys you were going to roll with or who have been there since week 1. So I don't think it was going to matter. Red flags were all over from the beginning, the way he ran with Hackett, the way he ran OTAs, his coaching staff, the way he had to hire Jerry Rosberg right away because he couldn't manage the clock. There was just that has nothing to me to do with whether you're healthy or not. So,
well, I'm gonna agree with you guys, man. I don't think it'd be major improvements. I don't think we'd be sitting here atop the AFC West. I do think we pick up more wins. I don't think that you can count out just even the leadership of a Tim Patrick, the talent level of a Javonte Williams, let alone some of these other guys when you go up and down the list. Randy Gregory, when he was on the field, he was one of the best that we had from a pass rush perspective. So I do think that we pick up wins, but 100%. This offense is not doing well, and Mr. Slade joining us. Mr. Slade, been a while. I really appreciate you joining the show. Good to hear from you. Unfortunately, under these circumstances as well, and a question that I'll pose to Albert. He says, can we finally admit that the Wilson experiment is a disaster? Albert, is there any saving a Russell Wilson Denver Broncos pairing and making this a happily ever after story, or is this truly a disaster that we'll just need to have to flush out of our memory someday?
No, definitely not. What happens is maybe we need to adjust the playbook a little bit, but Wilson is still one of the best quarterbacks there is. And at moments you really can see that he really has it. The thing is, if you don't have an O-line and if the O-line is not working. There's nothing that he can do. If the wide receivers are not getting free, of course he has missed wide receivers that were free, but that is not 100% of the cases. A long time, sometimes he holds on to the ball too long because there's nobody available for him. No, the Wilson experiment is far from over. If we get a better O line and better coaching, I think we will see a complete different Russell Wilson than what we have so far.
Very good, man. Before I go to Jody on this, I think this is the perfect segue to this. We should talk about our fantastic sponsor, Willow Seasonings and Blends. Willow Seasonings and Blends is a Colorado-owned, veteran-owned, Denver Bronco-loving owned, first place blue ribbon owned barbecue spice company. They are fantastic. WillowSeasonings.com is where you can check them out. They had a big Black Friday sale, man. If you missed out on that, maybe you're lucky. I imagine they probably have sales going on, but I'm telling you, you got to watch these guys, man. They're a little shifty. They're fantastic and dropping some great promos from time to time. Just about the time usually seems like I'm out and I need to put an order in, which is always great. So whether it be the fantastic seasonings, the wonderful sauces, believe me, WillowSeasonings.com has it, man. Spice up your life. Head over to WillowSeasonings.com today and check it out.
If I can make a comment on it, I smoked a turkey and I put that seasoning on there, and it was the best turkey we have ever had.
Wow, man. What seasoning did you go with, buddy?
Sweet heat.
The sweet heat, man. You were loving that sweet heat. I just can't get out that SPG myself. But Jody, back over to you, man. Off of the great Willow Seasonings and Blends, back onto the Wilson experiment. Is it a disaster? Is it something that we just have to flush out of our memory in the years to come? Or is this a comeback story in the making?
We need to write Wilson off. Yeah. This is a progressive read the defense type of offense, and that's never been Wilson. They need to get an offensive coordinator in here that knows what Wilson's strengths were, and that was bootlegs, rollouts, that type of stuff. One thing I did go back and look, and this has always been key for Wilson since 2018. I'll exclude the 2021 season when he was hurt. 2018, 2019, and 20, he had an elite run game. He had they almost ran for two years. They ran for over 2K. 1 year, almost 2K. So, I mean, that's the key. If you can you got to have an elite running game with Wilson. And he had that early in his career with beast mode. So that's where it's at. Wilson is not a sit back in the pocket and pick you apart, Peyton Manning, throw the ball 50 times a game. That's not his game. It's never been his game. And this has been trying to put a square in a round hole or whatever the saying.
Square peg, round hole.
And bad. And you got to get him paired. I know this isn't all about Wilson, but you got to pair him with somebody that knows him and knows what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he can do, what he can't do, because you're committed to him. I mean, you can't cut him. I don't remember what the stats were. If you cut him this year, your dead cap hits $106 million next year. That's that's over half a year cap next year. It's not feasible. Then it goes to like 81 and then like 60. I mean, it's such outrageous numbers. He's here. Either you don't have a choice. He's here and you play him. So you better build around him and do what works.
Yeah, it's a good 3-4 years before we can get out of that contract. Last time I looked at it, it's nothing that we're moving on from next year. No one's going to be the Texans with Brock Osweiler for us on this one. I think that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and here we are. We are where we're at. I'll hit this over to Albert on this one. Dave brings in a good point. He's going over, he's missing throws and wide open receivers and holding the ball too long. I want to get to the back end of this. He says he's not a top 5 or a top 10 QB anymore. Where will you rank him? Top 20, top 15, top 10, top 5? Where do you put him, Albert? We'll go in 5 increments. Give me a 5 increment.
The way he plays now, I would say top 20.
Top
But
20.
but he can be a top 5 with the right coaching, with the right O line, and like Jody says, if we specialize him specifically to him, play to his strengths, he is a top 5 QB.
All right, Jody, man, your thoughts on this one? Can't hear you, buddy. There you go.
The way he's playing right now, probably bottom 5, but can he be a top 10 quarterback? Sure. Do you need him to be a top 10 quarterback? No. I mean, look at teams that don't have what I would say a top 10 quarterback in Tua or Kirk Cousins or Jimmy G, and they're winning games because they build a system around what works for that quarterback, and that wins games. And with this defense, little tweaks here, little tweaks there, you don't need 2012, 2013 Peyton Manning putting up 55 touchdowns. You don't need that.
And that's fair, man. You
can win games 24-10, 24-13 all day long and be one of the best teams.
I think you brought up a good point, because a lot of times we're always talking about the talent that you need to bring in. We started talking about how we need to fix the offensive line, for instance, and the talent that we have on that. But I think you brought up a great point, Jody. It's not just all about the talent that you bring in. It's the scheme that you bring in. And I think that's really – and I see Albert over there nodding as well, because, Albert, I know you brought that up as well. We need to get the right coach in here. We need to get the right scheme in here. If we get like you said, if we get a running game, Jody, that is moving and going along, don't get me wrong, it's always I don't know what the chicken and the egg, right? I guess is the best way to put it that comes to my mind. Of course, if you have the right scheme and you have if you have a running game that's out there putting up 2,000 yards, your quarterback, of course, is going to look hopefully decent. I mean, if you're putting up 2,000 yards in a season on the ground, you're running. I mean, your wide receivers should be running wide open at that point. Your quarterback should have great reads. It's one and the other. It brings to answer my own question that I put in front of you guys. Top 15 quarterback, I think, is where he kind of resides. I don't think he can really crest into that top 10. I don't think he can crest in that top 5. I think he's probably maybe a number 12 quarterback overall in this league, somewhere in that realm. But I don't know if he breaks the top 10. He is getting along. Since we're talking so much about the man, it is his birthday. Happy 34th birthday, by the way, to Russell Wilson. So not the youngest man on the field either. Just another component that you need to check off in that box of how, is he a top 10 quarterback? Is he a top 15 quarterback in my mind? And I just don't, again, I think age is starting to catch up a little bit. I don't think Dave's completely off the mark in saying that he's starting to tail off. I don't think he's the same guy he was when he was 25, 26 years old, but at the same time, neither was Peyton Manning when he came to the Broncos either. And he did it through his mind and through his system, and it worked, and it got us a Super Bowl. So there is still potential.
2 guys. Look at Jimmy G. No one puts him in the top 10, and what does he do in San Francisco? He wins football games. And does he every now and then have a moment like he did in Denver, step out of the back of the end zone or something? Sure, but he wins games. And if you look at Shanahan's record with and without Jimmy G, it's unreal. Look at Kirk Cousins. No one puts him in the top 10, and look what they're doing when you get capable coaches around him. You don't need – or take somebody that like Justin Herbert. Everyone puts him in, he's top 5, top 3. But what has he won? He has never been to the playoffs, so he puts up big numbers. So what? He's not winning. So You don't need that from Wilson. At the end of the day, I don't really care with Wilson's 5, 10, 15 if he's winning you games. And at the end of the game, he can go down and put you in position to win a game. That's what matters.
Let's not forget Geno Smith.
Yeah.
What is Geno Smith doing at the moment? I don't
Yeah.
see him as a top 10 quarterback, but he's close to there.
Yeah.
I see
mean,
Dave though. Dave asks us a question up here. What do you do? Who do you bring in to fix this? I've been saying for a while, Brian Schottenheimer. He had his 3 best years with Wilson, and I just pulled his stats. He in 2018, 3,400 pass yards, 35 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, 110 QBR, 19, 4,100, 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 106 QBR. In 2020, 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I mean, you got to bring in somebody that knows him.
Yep.
where's Brian Schottenheimer right now, buddy?
Dallas.
Yep. Dallas. That's what I thought. He
Down
also
there,
brought
down
up
there
another
with Dan
question.
Quinn.
Yep. He also brought another question up, though. So the way this disaster is going, you fire a head coach after 1 year. What good coach is going to want to come in to this circus? And I think that kind of goes right to Sis's point. He wanted Sean Payton is the answer, my friend. Albert, I'll jump this over to you, man. Who comes in to fix this circus? Is Jody barking up the right tree? And do we have any chance at a Sean Payton?
I would love to see Sean Payton coming here. I'm not sure if he wants to come. Who wants to come to the Broncos at the moment? So most likely there's a big chance that Evero is going to be the head coach maybe. And give him a shot because he is doing great and he is keeping his players accountable from what I hear.
That
is a big point, plus a bonus point for me.
I agree, man. That is a good point. I love the accountability side, and it does seem like he's keeps guys squared up on the defensive side of the ball. Seems like we're accountable to what we're doing on the field, and we've played some pretty dang good games on that side of the ball. Jody, I know that you've been worried about elevating Ejiro up to interim head coach and the possibility we'd lose him. There has been a little bit of talk about this. What do you think about EJ Evero as our head coach next year?
I mean, I think if you're going to do it, then fire Hackett and give him these last 6 games. You should have done it a few games ago and see if it's worth making the decision. And then if it's not, what is it going to cost you really? Pay him a few more million to keep him as a DC? Really? See what he can do in these last 6 games. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest messes I've ever seen. And if he can turn this around, I don't know how you would say no to that. If he doesn't necessarily have to win games, but if he can, show that he's pointing the boat in the right direction, that's why I don't think that that's their number one choice, or you would do it right now. What's holding you back?
I agree, man. I agree. I think that not unless it's just a little bit of a time thing, a timing thing. You don't want to be necessarily being the what was it? I saw that we would have been, if we would have fired Hackett after the Raiders game, we would have been the quickest firing of a head coach since like 2002 or something like that. So, you don't want to be that team. You don't want to be looking like you made that big of a mistake ever, right? They talk about the pride of this Broncos organization all of the time, and it's tough to be prideful when you're already admitting a mistake halfway through a season. Peyton won't come here, Dave says. Plus, and this is true, you do have to trade for Peyton if you're going to do that. If you're going to have Peyton come to be a head coach.
I agree with Dave on that. If you think that you're one coach away and Sean Payton is the coach, you have a first rounder, go get him. Trade him if you think that that's if you think that. I heard a thing. I heard something that was kind of made you think a little bit. Who was Sean Payton's quarterback for all those years in New Orleans? Drew Brees. How tall was Drew Brees? He was short like Russell Wilson, and he got the most out of a short quarterback like that. What's Wilson, a short quarterback? I mean, he knew how to get the best out of Breeze, so
What position did Sean Payton play?
it's an option.
Anybody know what position Sean Payton played?
Punter.
Wasn't he quarterback?
I don't know.
Yeah, he was a
I think he
quarterback.
was. I think he was quarterback, and if I remember right, Sean Payton is not the tallest man either. So you might have something there, man. I think you really might have something. I'm going to throw this one over to Albert. We're going to start getting into, I guess, next week here pretty soon, talking about the next game. I want to bring up a comment that Ricky Newell brought up in here. He says, I think we should bench Russ for at least 1 week. What are your thoughts around, somewhere in this 6-week stretch, putting Russ on the bench, giving him a reset, giving this offense maybe a reset, maybe even just giving them the thought and the possibility of this is what it's like without Russell Wilson on the field? What are your thoughts around Russell Wilson missing a week out on the field?
We had a Russ reset. We had Rippon playing for a game, so and it didn't change. If the coaching doesn't change, if they keep doing the same thing over and over again, doesn't matter what quarterback you put there. It's not going to happen. And the more practice they get now on the field, let's call them practice games, maybe they can build up chemistry. I would not sit Russ unless he is injured. Otherwise, I would not bench him.
All right, Jody. Thoughts on this? Is there anything to be said about letting Russ set for a week, maybe for himself, maybe for this team? Are you along it's the same thought process as Ricky and maybe Dave here? Dave Slade coming in saying, give Russ a reality check.
Not really. I mean, yeah, I agree. Hold guys accountable and all that, but what are you saying to the rest of your team? I'm gonna sit the guy that's gonna lead you next year for what? I mean, you're not sitting anyone else. You never set Gordon for fumbling. You don't.
Hey, Albert O can't hit the field, buddy.
I know Albert O can't block, and you don't dress him. Greg Dulcich can't block, and you start him. I mean, really.
Here's a different accountability. You pay him $25 million a year, and then you're going to sit him? That's a day off.
That's a heck of a game check for sitting on the bench. That's the way Albert's looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Dave jumped in here, man, because you guys were all on board with it, and I thought I was going insane. I'm sorry. We are strapped for picks now. You want to throw away another first on Sean Payton? I would agree, man. I don't know if Sean Payton is necessarily the answer. There was a lot of things that came together in New Orleans to make that a magical place and a magical time. He had the right players put into place. I don't know if Sean Payton is a plug and play, changes our whole team by spending that first round pick, man. I don't know if I'm up for that as of right now. I do agree we need a change. I'm not disagreeing there. I don't think that Hackett's the head coach next year. So,
but isn't it the case that Sean Payton will be released from New Orleans after next year? That he no longer have a buy on his contract?
Yeah, eventually that does happen. I know that. I think that's the case.
So wait till the season is over and pay him. Then you don't have to spend your first round pick.
I don't know what throwing the Saints a bunch of money does. I mean, they still only can spend so much, and they have a cap. And I don't know what their books are like, unless they're cash poor like the Raiders or somebody. I don't know what throwing them money does, really. Doesn't really help their team anymore to get players.
Facebook user coming in just being hilarious, I think. He says, here's what I do if I'm the Broncos. I call the Jets in the offseason and trade Wilson for Wilson. Ha, 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 Not a good thing to be Wilson and a quarterback at this current time. So maybe you may have something going there, Facebook user. He's under contract through 2024. So we got a couple more seasons before he's released. Thanks, Dave, for chiming in here. And then I meant to hit Kenny's. Here's the solution: offseason trade Wilson for. It's Kenny again. Kenny. Jeez, he's just getting me left and right. Well, gentlemen, there's like I said, there's a lot. There's a lot, man. There's a lot to try to get past after these 6 consecutive losses, where I think we're ranked almost dead last in almost every offensive statistical category, 31st. And most of what I've seen, we have injuries up and down the board. It's not going to get any easier. The team after the game came out of the locker room and said the message was all about being family and all about staying together. It's going to be a lot to stick together. The next game that we head to Baltimore, gentlemen, and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens did lose last week. Haven't been the Baltimore Ravens a lot of people maybe expected at the very beginning of the year, but it's the Baltimore Ravens nonetheless. Jody, we'll start with you, sir. Give me your thoughts, give me your ideas around this game, what we need to do to maybe slow down this Baltimore offense, and then maybe we can flip over and see if there's any possibility of what we can do something ourselves on offense. But first, let's hit what our defense can do. What do we need to do in order to slow down Baltimore and give ourselves a chance in this game?
I would say it all starts with stopping Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's a dual threat. He can run, he can throw. You haven't been able to stop the run. So show that you can stop it. I think that's where it starts. But I think, again, though, the defense is going to play well enough to keep you close in this. Does the offense do anything? That's really what it comes down to every week.
All right, I'm gonna keep you on the screen here, buddy, because you said something that I don't know if I'm in a complete agreement with. I'm gonna say, do you think they can have a bounce back game after the week that they just got done with against the Carolina Panthers? We're going from the Carolina Panthers, where 23 points.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, 23 points. Now we're going up against Lamar Jackson. In my opinion, it is a bounce back. Do they have the bounce back in them, especially with the mindset that this team has right now with yelling
Denver? No.
I
think this D is always
like the R.
Right. This D is always going to play hard, and Evero brings that out in him. And even last week, where you think they played bad, they only gave 24 points up, and some fluky stuff happened. So a couple times. So, I mean, they've kept Denver all year in games. It's really, there are things that I've seen from the D that I need improvement, like stopping the run, but that's 99 of 100 problems on this team, in my opinion.
That's fair, man. Albert, your thoughts. How does the Denver defense go into Baltimore, slow down this Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson-led offense, and give ourselves a chance to maybe even be competitive, maybe even get a win?
I heard that we signed a defensive back today, Lamar Jackson. So
Yes.
who knows? Lamar Jackson might get Lamar Jackson. It can't go both ways, of course, but yeah, we have to slow down Lamar. And if our secondary is great, then we can hold them to 16 points or so. And we're talking about the defense. I think K-Jack has his batteries are gone. He was burned several times last Sunday, and I think either they need to reduce his activities a little bit and see if we can find a follow-up for him, a better one. even although he's a little smidge better. I think that's what was one of the problems with our defense too last Sunday. K-Jack.
Yeah, maybe pairing him up with PJ Locke a little bit more right now, giving him a little bit more time on the field. Slow, and getting a little bit more speed on the field, because I agree. K-Jack, whether he's lost a step for age or lost a step because of desire to play, as this Broncos team is once again a losing team, doesn't seem like he's nearly in step like he was just a few years ago. For me, gentlemen, it's controlled pass rush. We've kind of seen our pass rush kind of fall apart. Sam Darnold wasn't pressured hardly at all last week. We need to find a way to be able to get pressure, and I say controlled pressure because this is not the type of guy that you want to lose control on when it comes to Lamar Jackson. But at the same time, he's also become that player, that quarterback, that you just can't let him sit back there in a pocket anymore either. Used to be when Lamar Jackson first hit the NFL, keep him in the pocket and make him make a mistake. No longer do you want to do that with Lamar Jackson. You still need to get that pressure. So for me, if we're getting pressure up front on Lamar Jackson, controlled pressure, there we have an opportunity to get some wins. That'll relieve some of the pressure on that secondary. That'll relieve some of the pressure even on the linebackers. But, Jody, you brought up a fantastic point. This means nothing if we can't stop the run.
Well, that goes back to getting pressure. If you're not forcing teams to throw the football, you're never going to get pressure because they're running the football. Put them in passing situations, and you can rush the passer.
Yeah, the only reason I bring this up is because, quite honestly, the best rusher I think currently playing on the Baltimore Ravens is probably Lamar Jackson. They've once again they've been kind of dinged up in the running back room, up and down. Maybe Gus Edwards makes it back this week. I mean, there's all these different people. So I think that's the only reason I put a focus on Lamar Jackson, I guess.
I'll piggyback off of what Dave said. 2 sacks since Chubb was traded. I agree with, not that he was so much getting sacked, really set the edge really well, and that was when they weren't running all over you. There were multiple times in the game they said Cooper couldn't set the edge, Benito, Browning, they're not setting the edge. And that's allowing teams to run all over us. And why throw the ball when you can run for 6-7 yards a pop? You don't need to. Why let Aaron Browning get going?
Yeah, you make a great point, man. We haven't seen that edge set very well. I mean, I would say, and I remember Albert bringing it up, there was one game that Nick Benito came in. He did pretty well on his side of the ball, turned things inside for the most part. But over the last couple of weeks, yeah, whether it be Josh Jacobs, whether it be last week with Chubbard, you saw guys jump into the outside, getting around the edge, and busting for large gains. They do go hand in hand. So fair enough.
It's where you miss Chubb or Gregory. I mean, you really miss a big guy on the other side. I mean, yeah, Cooper and Benito are not big guys like a Gregory or Chubb that really could hold the edge there.
And they're not the threat either. You know what I mean?
Right.
And quite honestly, you're always worried about a guy like that blowing it up. They're taking doubles all the time. You're not doubling Cooper.
And that's where stats lie.
You're not doubling Benito.
That's where stats lie. Oh, Chubb only had 0 sacks since Gregory went out. That's true, but he was also setting the edge. And look at the amount of run yards allowed when Chubb was there compared to now. I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't producing because he wasn't getting sacks.
Kenny brings up a great point, too, just alluding to this game. He says the Ravens losing the way they did in Jacksonville only hurts the Broncos' chances of pulling off a shocker, in my opinion. Yeah, Kenny, like I said, it was a big loss. It doesn't seem like Baltimore is maybe the team that they were, but losing to Jacksonville, you'd think they're going to be just a little bit more hungry to come in there and right the ship, maybe in comparison to our Denver Broncos, man. Albert, you agree there, I take it?
Absolutely, and this could be another trap game for the Broncos. Going in there thinking, "Oh, we will win it." I'm just trying to make fun of it.
Okay, very good. What? I was so confused there for a minute, buddy. You kept the straight face. I was like, why are we thinking that we can go in and win this one, man? I'm gonna have to play this tough, man. Go ahead, man.
On
So
a
yeah,
on a side note, they moved us out of the Sunday night game in 2 weeks,
Imagine
so
that.
we don't get another embarrassing primetime game.
Yeah, they don't need that anymore. Go ahead, Albert.
I still want to be able to see the games.
Yeah. Well, they didn't move us to the 2 a.m. slot, so.
So, yeah, the defense. I hope they're gonna play as they used to play, and maybe that's why we didn't see so many pressures on the quarterbacks too. Maybe the defense say, "I'm not gonna get injured. We're gonna lose it anyway, so I'm not gonna put my full 100% in." And that might be the case too that we see.
I think that's one of the things that we did see towards the end of that last game. Quite honestly, gentlemen, right there. It's tough to continue to play, and I know that Russ came out and he said that we continue to play. Hats off, obviously, to Brandon Johnson. Gets his first touchdown in the league. Had a great post-game interview. Fantastic young man. If you didn't get a chance to catch it, very respectful and really seems like what everyone's been saying. He's been putting in the work, and really wants his team to succeed. So. It was a good positive voice after that game, I should say. Danny coming in saying that Benito is a work in progress. Yes, I think 2-3 years down the road, this gentleman could be an absolute beast on the field, but I don't think he's a year one guy that's going to show out. That's not true. We play the Rams on Christmas Day. Don't remind me, Danny. Don't remind me. Dave's going to bring it over to the offensive side, so I'll bring it over, and maybe we'll go back, reverse around the horn, start with Albert. He says if the offense can sustain drives, the defense will get worn down, and the Ravens will run crazy all over us. I'm going to switch it to the other side. What does the offense of the Broncos need to do, Albert, in order to flip the tables and maybe give us a possibility of getting the win in this game?
Be on the field at least for 25 to 30 minutes for the offense. And right now, what have they played last game? 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. So it's bad. So that's where it is. And yeah, I know. And I'm going back to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson cannot do it all by himself. And yeah, if the O-line is not closing those gaps, and I don't think that's seeing that happen, I still think Reisner is still minus is still the best player probably on the offense right now, on the entire offense. And then let them keep playing. Don't sit them, because next year is coming. Within 365 days, we are back here again, and I hope we will have some more positive news because they kept playing this season.
I agree, buddy. I agree. Jody, how does the offense come out there and maybe be productive against this Baltimore Ravens team, man? I'll be honest. I thought Baltimore was one of those teams that really loaded up on defense in this last offseason between them and the Jets. So, how do you stack up against them? How do you get some production out of this team?
Sustained drives. You can't go 3 and out punt, 3 and out punt, 3 and out punt. That isn't going to work. And that's what's killing this defense late in games. I mean, they're just on the field so much. And they're down to backup guys now. I mean, K'Wan Williams is out. Jonas Griffith is out. Caden Stearns is out. I mean, Ronald Darby's been out for a while. I mean, you're down to
Randy Gregory.
some second and third. Randy Gregory, you're down to second and third string guys. And then having to play these guys now, when they sub out, you're down to third and fourth string. Mm-hmm. That's what's killing this team. I don't really so much care. I mean, I'd love to see them score, but just sustain 6, 8, 10 play drives. Stay on the field for 4 or 5 minutes at a time before you punt it and waste a minute and 20 off the clock.
You guys have been talking the same thing that all our commenters have: sustained drives, being on the field. Jody, I want to get back to something that you said a little bit earlier in the show, and that was the fact that we just need to get some discipline, and we need to get an identity, and we need to continue to do the same things. I really feel if we get back to the basics, as you said, and just start running the basic plays, just getting in sync, getting back to the very basics. Heck, if you can get 3.5 yards per carry, you're going to be sitting there right at first down all the time. If you can get the easy check down throws for 6 or 7 yards until you can open up something larger down the field. We used to see it all the time in the Shanahan style of offense. But we need to decide what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and we're going to stick to that. And I'm going to bring up one thing that was kind of talked about a little bit, but not talked about. I know this is getting a little bit off topic. We scripted all our plays in the third quarter of this last game. The third quarter. No team ever, players. Nick Ferguson was talking about it. I forget who else is on the post game show right off the top of my head. They were all talking about it. They've never ever heard of anything like this. I understand the concept of trying to come out good in the second half, but that is that's my second thing that I need to get to, and that's we need to be able to adjust. Adjusting in the second half isn't scripting plays midweek the week before. That doesn't work that way. You can't adjust to what those guys are doing by being planned out a week, 7 days prior, 5 days prior. It doesn't work that way. You guys got to be able to adjust on the fly. These guys have got to be able to put that together. That should be their number one focus. But get back to basics and stick to it. See what you can get done. Maybe you can mitigate some of these penalties, which were one of the worst penalized teams out there as well. Maybe we can get some third downs converted, which were one of the worst teams as far as converting third downs. Maybe we could sustain drives. Maybe we could have some time of possession. But it all has got to start with some consistency up front and an identity. And that's what I want to see. That's all I want to see. I'm with you, Jody. I don't care if we lose this game. I just want to see us being consistent. I want to see us get some third down conversions. I want us to see us gain an identity. If we can have an identity, somewhat of an identity by the end of this season, I would be elated. I'm out on the 30-plus point games. Go ahead, Albert.
So here's the thing. Why script anything? You have a playbook. You can say, oh, well, we're going to use these and these plays today, but there's not a regular script for it. It is not a movie.
Albert, I agree. Believe me, I was on the same page with you. This is something that Shanahan used to do all the time, was script out the plays in the very first 10 plays, 12 plays of the game. And I used to hate it because, quite honestly, sometimes you just get put into positions where these plays are not your best choices. But the idea is that you're setting things up for further down the road. You're choosing some of your better plays in order to get a great start. There's a lot of reasons that they would try to script it. I just don't see how that makes any sense for the second half of a football game. If you want to get your best,
because you don't know how they're going to adjust.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know what adjustments they made coming out of halftime.
100%.
There's only one script: go out and win. That's the only script they should have.
I always understood why Shanahan did it, because he, like you said, he's setting up plays. If I run this play, what do the linebackers do? Do they flow with this guy? And then you can come back and, I was handing off. What if I fake now? I could see it for later down. Making adjustments already. You don't know what that's something Denver doesn't do. Adjust.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, guys, there was a couple topics that I hit in our ad that I just want to get to really quick. We can do this kind of rapid fire. I'll start with you, Jody. I put up there three or more wins in these last 6 games, or 3 or less than 3 wins in these last 6 games. How many did the Broncos come out with in the last 6, buddy?
1. Maybe 1.
Maybe 1. All right, Manny. That's wah, wah, wah. On to Albert.
I mean, to be honest, I don't see them favored in another game this year.
I don't either. You know, I mean, we have San Diego maybe being one of our easier games coming. I'm sorry, I need to put $1 in the jar. Los Angeles Chargers maybe being one of the easier games that we have coming up. But yeah, it's a tough path. Albert, what are your thoughts? 3+ more games, or three or more wins, or less than 3 wins?
I will go off script, and normally I'm positive, but I hope they can do 2.
You're hoping
2
for 2.
wins.
Official schedule: at the Ravens, Chiefs at the Broncos, Cardinals at the Broncos, Broncos at the Rams on Christmas Day, Broncos at the Chiefs, and Chargers at the Broncos. Just to be fair to everybody, if anybody wants to change their 1 or 2 wins. Going once, going twice.
Cardinals, they should be able to win. Should. There's nothing, how do you call it again? Secure anymore about it. But
Yeah.
and they should at least get one of the Charger games, or that is 2. And I hope maybe we can get a third one against the Chiefs, just to be a pain in their rear.
Oh man, that would be a beautiful thing, man. Just to blow up a Chiefs game, man. That would probably be the best feeling of the season at this point, Albert. I gotta admit, man, if we could just get a win, I don't care if it's a 7-3 win against the Chiefs. I think that would be the most amazing feeling ever. Man, I think I'm right there with you guys, though. Cardinals, a possibility. Rams, a possibility. I didn't think I'd be saying that at the beginning of the season. But if they picked up both of them, I'd be kind of surprised. I think this is a 1 or 2 more wins. We're probably going to finish, in my opinion, we probably finish with 4 wins on the season. Danny's coming out here, and he's saying, I'm going to go bold and say 3. He's giving us the Rams, the Cards, and the Chiefs, just like you want, Albert. Another real quick topic. I guess I can start off with Albert. Melvin Gordon is now a Kansas City Chief. What are your thoughts on Melvin Gordon hitting the practice squad for the Chiefs, buddy?
That gives us hope, because if he comes in against us, he might fumble a ball.
Okay. I like it. I said rapid fire. He gives us his quick jab right there. Jody, what are your thoughts on Melvin Gordon landing on the Chiefs?
I think it's probably a good pickup for them. They'll use him the right way on 3rd down, catching balls out of the backfield. They won't use him in goal line.
Fair enough, man.
And he can block. He's still a good blocker.
That is 100% true, man. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he's been a little bit banged up as of right now. So maybe that chance for him to come in and maybe fill a little bit of a role on the Chiefs. It seems like these guys do it all the time as of lately, kind of like the Rams did last year, going down the stretch, just adding talent onto their team, left, right, and otherwise. It'll be interesting to see what Gordon is capable of doing if he ever gets elevated off that practice squad, if he gets the field, and what he ends up producing like. Like I said, I saw a guy in training camp that put in a ton of work. I know that he has the work ethic. I just don't know if he can get it out of his mind, the issues that he's been having. So Kenny just jumping in, everything wins a game they are supposed to lose. I'll give the Broncos a win. Oh, everyone wins a game they're supposed to lose. I'll give a Broncos win versus the Chargers, Cardinals, and Rams. Man, they're coming in a lot better than we are feeling about this team. I appreciate all the positive vibes out there. Gentlemen, I guess if you don't mind, just give me a quick final score prediction. Jody, I know you love this segment so much, so I'm going to start with you.
24-10 probably. I'll go 24-10 Ravens.
24-10 Ravens. Not far off from our good friend David Slade here. Albert, your thoughts on this game?
17-10 for the Ravens.
17-10 for the Ravens. I'm going to be right there in there with you guys. I'm going to be 23-10 Ravens. I don't see us being able to do much more than we we did last week, and maybe we hold Baltimore the same points as we held Carolina. That would be might be actually a win.
So
Danny coming in.
I found this stat real quick. This
All
is
right.
why you can't just cut Wilson. 2023, 107 million towards the dead cap. 2024, 85 million. 2025, 49.6. Then maybe in 2026, 31.2. So I mean,
There
you
you
got
go.
him for 3 years. So
Yeah. All we
build
can
around
hope
him.
is all we can hope for, in my opinion, Jody. If you're the guy who really wants to get rid of Russell Wilson, all you can hope is that the NFL just the salary cap just skyrockets over the next couple of years to where
Yeah.
every quarterback is getting paid $60 million a year, and you can cut a $40 million a year off your roster with no problem whatsoever. That's the only if anybody is out there is in that mindset. That's the only way I see out of this. Danny's coming in. He's thinking it's a 24-13 for the Ravens. Kenny coming in 23-9. I think we're all in that same boat, gentlemen. Not expecting a whole lot. Broncos are going to have to prove us wrong this week. Broncos are going to have to flip the script. We've been the positive Denver Bronco roundup team now for weeks on end. Albert's been coming in here predicting win after win. I've been hopeful for 30-plus points put up by my Denver Broncos all season long, calling for a parade in the street when it happens. Well, Broncos, I hate to tell you, but we're all out on you at this point. We're like, and maybe this is a great little segue, because we're like Shelby Harris at this point. We're calling you out. It's time to go. It's time to get out there, and it's time to go. Prove us wrong, gentlemen. I just want to, as we wrap up, I just want to say, is that a breaking point? Is that a motivating point? What happened on the field? And if you want to go in one little step further, do you think that Hackett was straight up lying when he said he didn't know what was going on? Jody, I'll hit you first.
It definitely could be a breaking point. We'll see how this next game goes. And yeah, he plays off like he doesn't know a lot of things, but I don't think he's dumb. And he had to have known something was up there. And that's one of the other faults I have towards him is get in there and stop that. And, you're the leader of this team, do something about it. And I didn't know every time.
That's fair, Jody, man. I think we've all made a little bit of a turn on Coach Hackett for the most part. Albert, what's your thoughts? Is it a motivator? Is it a detraction from this team? And overall, what's your thoughts on whether Hackett really actually knew about this?
I think I'm going to create a new saying: pretending ignorance is pretending bliss. So there's something different. Let's keep it that way. I don't want to call him a liar, so
okay.
So the thing is, I think there's already a break in the team. The break is already there. It's not fully surfaced yet, but it's there. And if the defense or the offense is not going to do anything, the first two quarters, I think we will get a complete letdown we might get a complete letdown from the defense in the second half.
That's fair, man. They talk a lot about family. Denver Broncos as a team, they're a family. And if that's the case, sometimes families have breaking points. And much like you guys said, breaking points are one of two things. We can either come together or we can fall apart. And Jody, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this week tells everything. If you see this team comes out and they come together and they're playing well, and you see a unity on both offense and defense, maybe we have something here. But if not, it's like David Slade saying, maybe we're just a big old dysfunctional family. And if that's the case, boy, it's going to be a long ride out of this season if we don't see this start to come together just a little bit this week, in my opinion. It's going to be continuing to be a long 5 weeks. So, well, gentlemen, we're up against our time. And I appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate everyone out there. Again, a big thank you to our sponsor, Willow Seasonings and Blends. Fantastic company. Go check them out, willowseasonings.com. They'll spice up your life. Fantastic seasonings, fantastic sauces. I'll talk about a fantastic stocking stuffer. Fits right in there perfectly, and I'll have a big smile on that face of that happy receiver of the Willow Seasonings sauces or spices. Also, a big, huge thank you to Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Of course, they're our provider and our host every single week here for the Denver Bronco Roundup. We appreciate them. I'm going to hit some final thoughts. Jody, do you have anything before we get out of here?
I just hope no one gets injured, and I really hope that we don't see this small crack turn into a huge problem where guys pushing on the sidelines, because there's no one there that's going to stop it.
Good point, man. Accountability's been low, man. Can't expect Hackett to jump in and do it, so hopefully they come together. Falling apart would be ugly. Albert, your thoughts?
I hope we will see a good game, a turnaround from what we saw last Sunday, that we get finally some points on the board, more than 13. That would be already a big win. And here's the thing I have to say about Willow Seasonings. You only lose if you run out of their seasonings.
Oh, I love it, man. Man, Dave, I don't know if you caught that, Dave, but I think that's another little special tagline you should add in there. I guess my closing thoughts from all our friends that joined us this evening. We had a lot of supporters from the K&K show. I appreciate you guys, Kenny and Kurt and Sis that jumped over. Dave jumping in here. Obviously a fantastic sponsor for us as well over at Willow Seasonings and Blends. Danny Kitchen joining in. Mr. Newell joining in. We just had a fantastic nights of comments, viewership tonight, guys. I really appreciate everyone joining us. I know it's tough to get excited about your Broncos the way they are. Hopefully, next Tuesday, they've all shocked the world. They brought down the Ravens. They put up over 30 points, and we'll all be in here celebrating with a win. But regardless, we're going to be back here next Tuesday, 6:30, as always. We appreciate you guys, everyone, so much. So until, next Tuesday, gentlemen? Should we get out of here? Let's get out of here.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Let's go. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.